Hi, I'm Dr. M. Williams, and I'll be going over the CAL TPA resources that will be available on your Beachboard site. So your Beachboard site might look slightly different to this, but the common components that it still should have are the syllabus, the student-teacher handbook, possibly the student teaching or orientation, then the Module 1 Introduction to EDSS 473, Module 2 Planning Instruction for Students, Module 3 Evaluating Instruction, Module 4 Assessment Driven Instruction, and Module 5 Educational Technology and Academic Language. But today we're going to focus on the CAL TPA resources, specifically for this section here. So if I click on the CAL TPA resources, then you'll come up with this section. What you'll see is you have four major folders. The information is organized into Cycle 1 Information and Resources, Cycle 2 Information and Resources, the CAL TPA video permission slips, and there's a video related information CAL TPA folder. But what I'm going to go over first here is the CAL TPA Cycle 1. So either by clicking here or clicking here, you'll be able to see what's available there. So what you have in the Cycle 1 folder here is you have the templates that were developed by Pearson. And we've placed them here into this folder so that you can have access to them before you pay for your Cycle 1 TPA. Now what you have in the folder are these documents. You have the CAL TPA Assessment Guide. So if I click on that and I download that, then you can see that we have this CAL TPA Performance Assessment Guide. This is important. This is the manual that explains everything about the CAL TPAs. And a large portion of these modules are related to you completing these specific components. But this is important for you to download this information. As you can see, as I go through here, it's a fairly extensive manual that goes into quite a bit of detail. And if I scroll down here, it has over 50 pages, 58 pages, but the last few pages are basically subject-specific information. But if I go to the top here, you can see that the manual, it outlines the information related to the CAL TPA, provides you with the table of contents, and these table of contents, you can select on that. So for instance, getting to know your students, it'll go to that section. So you definitely need to read this and download this. And there are going to be requirements of this module that require you to get ready for the next module in order to read specific components. And that will be in your syllabus. These next 5 templates are the Word documents created by Pearson for the TPAs. So I'm going to just download one of them here. So I click on this and I download it. Then if I go here, it has this template for getting to know your students. So again, this is the Pearson template that you will complete on the focus students. Okay, so that's what you have there. So when I click back here, so you have the same thing here with your lesson plan rationale, your lesson plan optional template, the reflection component, and then the application component. So all of these documents here are TPA Cycle 1 specific documents that you should download and put into a specific folder so that you're ready to input that information for your Cycle 1 TPA. Again, these are all Pearson created documents, exactly like the documents you will get when you enroll for your Cycle 1 TPA. So you see in the bottom here, we have this Cycle 1 checklist, rubrics and evaluation sheets. So if I click on that, it'll come up with these documents here. These are not Pearson documents. These are CSULB faculty created documents. So the first thing I have here is the Cycle 1 checklist. And if I download that, this is simply a checklist that we've created to help you figure out what is involved in the TPA. So you probably should download this and print it up to understand what the components are for the TPA. And again, it has the TPA Cycle 1 has 8 rubrics, and there are 4 steps. The first step is the planning step, and it basically involves half of the rubrics for TPA Cycle 1. So again, this gives you an idea as to what you should be doing, what you should be developing, and what information you need to complete. Then it goes to step 2. Then this is the video of the lessons. So there'll be 2 rubrics for this. But then it has to address, what type of lesson are you going to videotape, what equipment do you need, how are you going to plan it, and then how are you going to actually specifically, purposefully plan to include content that meets the criteria required for the video. And then you have a reflection assignment, which is one of the templates from Pearson. And then you have the application section, which is, what did you learn, and how are you going to change things in the future based upon that stuff. This is a checklist that outlines the components of the Cycle 1 TPA. On the bottom, and then you'll see the passing criteria. For Cycle 1, there are 8 rubrics, and they're scored out of 5. You must score a 19 at least, with only 1 score allowed at 1. Going to Cycle 2, you have the Cycle 2 assessment document. So you can download that. And this is what comes up. Again, you should have access to this, and you should read this assessment guide. This is your guidebook for completing the TPA Cycle 2. Again, this is a relatively large document. It has over 60 pages, but it's structured in a very similar way to the assessment guide number 1, but with specific pertinent information related to the Cycle 2 assignments. Okay, so again, it'll have the plan, the teaching and assess, the reflection, and the application. So again, this you need to download, either have a hard copy of it or be able to access it relatively easily. The same type of information you have for the templates then are here. You have the contextual information, the learning segment, the assessment descriptions, analysis of the assessment results, and then the reteaching extension. So similarly, I can download this document here, and you will see that you have this information. So it's very similar. The first part is very similar to Cycle 1. Again, these are the templates that Pearson will make available to you when you sign up for Cycle 2 TPA. Okay, in the same vein, we've created this Cycle 2 checklist and rubrics evaluation sheets. So again, what we have here is we have, again, the Cycle 2 checklist. So if I download that, so we have the same information here that gives you a breakdown of what's involved, what's required of each of the sections of Cycle 2 TPA. Now you can see with Cycle 2, there's only going to be 2 rubrics related to the planning of the instruction. A lot of the assessment on Cycle 2 is based upon the video evidence and obviously on some of the written narrative evidence. And again, you have the reflection and the application there. Again, Cycle 2 has 9 rubrics. The minimum passing score is 21, with only 1 rubric allowed at a score of 1. If you have more than 1, you fail. So what you have there, so I didn't go over this for Cycle 1, but I've also created this rubric checklist. So you've got this rubric checklist for Cycle 1 and for Cycle 2, but you should download these as well. Now what these are basically an explanation of the evaluation system used by Pearson to assess your TPAs. It first has an outline of what the TPAs are all about, and this comes directly from the Pearson information. And then we have the specific rubrics. So the way you have the rubrics set up on your documents here, let me compare stuff for you here. So if I go here to the assessment guide and we go to the rubrics here, so if I go to the rubric here, okay, so these are the rubrics set up by Pearson. What we've done here is that we've transposed this information to format it in this way, because here you don't really see, you see the rubrics, and this is the same information, but this will give you a better idea on the left hand side as to how they evaluate. So this is the process. The evaluators will go to your TPAs, go to your documentation, and they will look for specific information. And the way they do it is this. They will go and look for level 3 information. So for instance, in this rubric 2.1, the candidate's learning segment includes manageable contents, specific and, if appropriate, English language development goals that clearly build on students' prior content knowledge. Modeling and scaffolding strategies are clearly described. Okay? But all of that has to be evident for the evaluator. They check off that. Then they look for candidate clearly identifies multiple kinds of evidence. They look for that. If they find that, they check that off. Then they go to the learning segment, includes learning activities that are appropriately supporting, engaging, and or challenging for the students. And grouping strategies are appropriate. If they see all of that, they check that off. Okay, and then the content-specific instructional strategies include adaptations and accommodations that will assist students to reach learning goals in multiple ways. So we look over here, this information here on the right and this information here on the left, it's the same information. All we've done here is we've organized it in a way that you can comprehend the evaluation procedure. So this is the deal. You have to meet all level 3 criteria, all 4 of these, in order for you to be scored at least at a level 3. If you miss any of these criteria, then you go directly, the evaluator doesn't even look here. They go to level 2. So the most you can score, if you miss anything, you score a 2 or lower. Okay, if you have everything, then the evaluator goes to level 4. And then if you have level 4, then they go to level 5. So again, we created these rubrics here to show you, to give you an idea as to how the assessment process is done. And I think having it in this format is somewhat easier to understand than having it in the format on the right hand side here. So it's a little bit clearer. So when you have finished your draft of your TPA, you need to go back and look at your TPA and then evaluate it in terms of the rubric. Okay, so that's one of the things that's probably really important here. So I've got that rubric checklist in a Word format and in a PDF format. And the last thing I have here on both of the Cycle 1 and Cycle 2 TPAs is this video evaluation sheet. And this video evaluation sheet you can download, and it gives you a means by which you can look at your videos that you've uploaded, and then you can identify how and where you meet certain criteria, and how are you assessing student learning, are you using educational technology, are you providing content-specific feedback, etc. So again, this document was created to assist you to check off that you're addressing all of the areas that they're looking for the videos. Okay, it's quite extensive here. So this is just double checking. So you should print that off as well. Okay, let's close that there. So you've got the Cycle 1 rubric here, or the Cycle 1 folder, and the Cycle 2 folder are formatted in the same way. You have the assessment guides, you have the Pearson Word documents, and then you have the checklists, rubrics, and evaluation sheets that you can use to evaluate your work. Okay, below that we have the video permission slips. You've got these video permission slips that you can access and print in order for you to get permission to videotape. There are two ways to do this. You either get a administrator release form. So if your school site has a waiver process in place, some schools don't want you to send out additional information to bug the parents. So if they already have secured that waiver, then all you would need to do is to get an administrator to sign off that they have that waiver and that everything's been taken care of. If they don't have that waiver, then you would need to print out these or email these or get these in some shape or form to the parents for the class that you're videotaping, and then have them fill that out. Now, it would make sense if you're doing this, that you would pick a specific class to do your Cycle 1 TPA and your Cycle 2 TPA. But that's not absolutely necessary. But if you chose different classes, you would have to get you have to get the parents' permission or consent for those classes. Okay, so you have that there. So that's the permission slips. And the last thing here, you have video related information. So what we have here is I've created a video tutorial here that shows you, for those of you that have iPhones or iPads, to videotape your lessons. I created an instructional tutorial video that took me 7 minutes to create, that shows you how to create a 5-minute video for your TPAs. And it's relatively easy, so you can just check off on that and it will take you to this information here.
Okay, this is a quick way
and I'll stop myself from talking here.
Videos for your TPAs directly from your iPad or your iPhone.
So we'll get out of that. Okay. And then the last thing, you've got some of this video compression stuff, but to be honest, I've found that if you follow the guidelines up here on using the videos with your iPhone or iPad, for those of you that have an iPhone or an iPad, then it's the compression stuff is not really necessary. So that's what we have basically in terms of your CAL TPA resources. Again, you have 4 folders here, one for cycle 1, one for cycle 2, one for video permission slips, and one for video related information. So it's in your best interest to download the cycle 1 and cycle 2 information onto your computer into specific folders so you have access to this information, because you will need it to complete your TPAs and also to complete the cycle 1 and cycle 2 support assignments for EDSS 473.